Hey guys, John V here from Phone Arena. Right now you're watching a video comparison between the HTC DROID DNA and the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, two of the juggernauts in the Android sphere right now. There's a lot to like about them. They feature some beefy hardware specs. For example, you're getting 4G LTE connectivity with these two guys, quad-core processors, and high-resolution displays. With the DROID DNA though, it stands out primarily for that 1080p display it has on there, making it the highest resolution display on a smartphone right now. And with the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, it still stands out for its large 5.5-inch display, but on top of that, you have all the cool software features attached with its S Pen stylus to make it still a standout hit. But ultimately, we're going to find out which one's going to reign supreme. Hardly a shocker to us, folks. The Samsung Galaxy Note 2 is by far the more beefy handset. It's just really large in terms of size, very wide in the hand, very cumbersome, so it requires two-handed operation more times than none. Whereas with the DROID DNA, it's still a pretty large handset, but a lot more comfortable just because it's not as wide. Now, their build qualities are very similar, pretty sturdy, plastic bodies, both very streamlined with their profiles, but we prefer the overall styling of the DROID DNA. It has a very minimalistic appearance that's very nice. Soft touch coating, which gives it a very clean appearance, and it's complemented by the red accents throughout its body. From an initial glance, most people are probably going to be attracted to the Note 2's display just because of its sheer size. That's what makes it so very fascinating. So on here we have a 5.5-inch HD Super AMOLED display on there with a resolution of 720 by 1280 pixels, which results in a pixel density of 265 pixels per inch. In contrast, we know that the DROID DNA has the highest resolution display on a smartphone. It's a 5-inch 1920 by 1080 resolution Super LCD 3 display on there, so its pixel density is at an immense 441 pixels per inch. Now, on paper, we all know that the DROID DNA is going to win it when it comes to just sheer details, but when it comes to practical usage, for example, if we're looking at our website here in a zoomed out view from a normal glance away, it's really hard to distinguish with our eyes which one is going to be the more detailed, but of course, when we look at it up close and personal, very meticulous, we do notice just a hint of sharpness more with the DROID DNA, but it's not noticeable unless you really look at it close. But overall, though, we have to still stick with the DROID DNA's display just because it has the more natural looking color reproduction and better outdoor visibility under the sun, whereas with the Note 2, it stands out for its vibrant and overly saturated color tones, but it's not as visible when compared to the DROID DNA outdoors. So the Note 2 employs a combination of using capacitive Android buttons and a physical home button, so it's less prone to accidental presses, whereas with the DROID DNA, it uses a trio of Android capacitive buttons. They're kind of placed close to the bottom edge here, so it's still kind of prone to accidental presses. Above their displays, we spot their earpieces, their front-facing cameras. On the DROID DNA, it's a wide-angle 2.1 megapixel front-facing camera with an f2.0 lens versus a 1.9 megapixel camera on the Note 2. They also have LED notifications light. It's kind of hard to make it out on the DROID DNA in the front. It's built into the earpiece, but you have a very noticeable one here on the Note 2. But interestingly enough, there's also another notification light in the back of the DROID DNA. Mainly because they're more pronounced and have springier responses, we actually prefer the physical buttons on the Note 2, both the power button and the volume control, just because on the DROID DNA, its set of buttons are flush to the surface. As for some of the other commonalities that these two handsets share around their trims, they include their 3.5mm headset jacks, noise cancellation microphones, power buttons, volume controls, and on the bottom you have the standard microphones and the micro USB ports, which have the ability to actually get video out with the aid of an MHL adapter. And finally, in the rear of both handsets, they both feature 8 megapixel autofocus cameras with LED flashes. They both have the ability to shoot 1080p videos, but the DROID DNA features an f2.0 lens. And towards the bottom edges, we find their respective speakers. You have the speaker grill right here on the DROID DNA, and right there on the Note 2. However, it's also worth pointing out some of the advantages seen with the Note 2. You have the S Pen here, which is a great tool. It just offers some additional functionality that we don't see on any other smartphones. Very useful too. There's a lot of stuff that you could do in addition to just writing down notes or even jotting things down. You could use the Air View functionality to mimic a mouse cursor hovering over the display, and there's just a lot of neat stuff that the S Pen has to offer that, again, the DROID DNA does not. And you can tell the DROID DNA has a a closed design, there's no way to increase its memory capacity or access to its battery, so it's stuck with the 16 gigabytes of internal storage it has out of the box. Whereas with the Note 2, of course, you can remove the battery and also feature some micro SD card slots, so you could actually supplement its internal 16 gigabytes of storage. Needless to say, it's wonderful to know that these two handsets are running Android 4.1 Jelly Bean on top of their customized Android experiences. So we'll give it to the Droid DNA for having the spiffier looking widgets with its Sense 4 Plus experience here. Just a lot better looking than what's available on the Samsung TouchWiz Nature UX experience on the Note 2, but it's just a wealth of functionality that's available with the Note 2 that really makes it the more extensive offering, especially when you consider the fact that you have the specific functions of the S Pen. So for example, the reason why I like the TouchWiz Nature UX experience a little bit more is because in the notifications panel you have access to some connectivity features directly from there. And of course with the S Pen you have some neat features that are in play. For example, when you go to your email, you could actually preview your email without having to go into them just by hovering the pen right there, so that's pretty great. On top of that, you have other useful features. For example, if you go to the gallery, if you're watching videos, you could actually use the pop-up play feature to allow you to actually watch video on top of whatever you're doing. And again, that just goes to show all the cool software enhancements found with the Notes experience that's not available on the HTC DROID DNA. Knowing that these two are packing such high-resolution displays, they require some beefy hardware to run smoothly, and that's what we find on here. With the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, it's powered by a quad-core 1.6 GHz Samsung Exynos processor with 2 GB of RAM, while the Droid DNA is packing a quad-core 1.5 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro processor with also 2 GB of RAM. And honestly, their performance are very similar to one another. You could tell mostly smooth responses. Every now and then we'll encounter an occasional slowdown or choppiness. That's whenever we have some sort of live wallpaper going on or some graphically intensive widget. But as far as the other basic tasks, when it comes to like opening up applications, surfing the web, playing games, they're pretty much identical to one another. Naturally, there's no arguing that these two handsets are great for typing up messages with their respective keyboards just because they're very spacious with their layouts and also super responsive. And we also like the fact that you have access to both numbers and punctuations directly from the main layouts just by doing long presses on them. But with the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, we have just additional features that, give us different alternatives. For example, you have that swipe-like method as an alternate way of inputting text. And on top of that, you could also use the handwriting recognition with the S Pen stylus. With 4G LTE connectivity in tow with both these handsets, you're going to get fast data speeds. And as far as the web browsing experience, it's very lovable on both devices. You have some smooth navigational controls, and you could tell here, pinch zooming, kinetic scrolling, pretty much effortless here. On top of that, they have proper rendering, and with their high-resolution displays, they give you a lot of detail and clarity. But with the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, it gives us that desktop-like feature, just because with the aid of the S Pen stylus, we could actually mimic the styling of a mouse cursor as we hover over specific things, which is definitely useful, especially for some of those other websites that have these different menu options available. And it's just nice having that very desktop-like experience on here. There's not one particular music player that we're more attracted to over the other, just because they're pretty much conventional looking with their presentations. But as far as the audio quality is concerned, the Droid DNA has a slight advantage just because it has a built-in amplifier with its speaker, which produces some strong tones that have no distortion whatsoever. Whereas on the Note 2, it does exhibit some strain at the lattice volume setting. And it's also worth noting that the Droid DNA features Beats audio support with the headphone jack. Both are naturally equipped to playing high-definition videos. They support a wide array of codecs out of the box: MPEG-4, DivX, XVID, and even H.264. And the video we have here is encoded in XVID 1920 by 1080 resolution. You could tell moving very smoothly, no slowdown or lag. And of course, with their large displays and brilliant-looking colors, they just make the experience so gratifying. But with the Galaxy Note 2, it's just a little bit more ideal just because you get that larger display. On top of that, we definitely like the neat feature of pop-up play, which allows us to actually layer the video on top of whatever we're doing, so we can actually multitask. Honestly, it's very difficult to say which device takes the better photos with their 8-megapixel camera. So we checked out the images on a computer, and we had to give the slight advantage to the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, just because as a whole, it just produces these sharper and more crisp-looking visuals with details in different lighting conditions, of course. Now, it's not to say that the DROID DNA is bad. It actually works slightly better in low lighting conditions. It has less noisier appearance than the Note 2, but again, the Note 2 just has also a slight saturation with its color tones to give it a good vibrancy. It makes it slightly more appealing than the shots produced by the DNA. So it's a close race with their still image quality, but when it comes to high definition 1080p video recording quality, it's the Note 2 easily taking the win here, just because it produces the better looking details between the two. Whereas with the DROID DNA, the biggest distractions that we have with it is that it produces some artifacting elements as we're panning, and on top of that, its details are a lot softer looking and dull. Call quality is very good with both handsets. They deliver pretty much the same level of quality. Specifically, we're greeted to clear and distinctive voices on both of its line with barely any background noise. But the thing with the Note 2, there's this option for extra volume with the earpiece, so it does come off stronger, especially in noisier conditions. With battery life, though, it's a surefire win for the Galaxy Note 2 just because it's packing a higher capacity 3100 mAh battery versus the 2020 mAh battery in the DROID DNA. In fact, with the DROID DNA in a full charge, we could get up to 10 hours of normal usage through LTE connectivity, whereas with the Note 2 on HSPA Plus, we could get easily close to 2 days, and with LTE, just a little bit close to the 1-day mark. There are many valid reasons why these two handsets are regarded as the premier devices in the Android sphere right now. There's a lot to like about them. You have some beefy hardware, some high-resolution displays. With the DROID DNA, we love that it's $200 with a 2-year contract, so it's very affordable compared to the $300 price point attached to the Galaxy Note 2. You're getting a nice-looking design with the handset, and on top of that, it's just that high-resolution display that really gives it its eye candy. But with the Note 2, though, if you're willing to shed the extra $100 to pick it up, you're getting a handset that has the software enhancements to really make it the supreme offering. Not only that, it's just that it performs well too when it comes to taking photos and videos, and also the battery life, it's significantly better over the DROID DNA. And of course, you have all the neat features associated with the S Pen styles that you won't find anywhere else on any other device out there, so it really gives the Note 2 a lot of value for the buck. So if you'd like to learn more about both handsets, guys, you can check out our website, phonearena.com. This is John V. Thanks for watching.